Two guys and a goalie.
Babcock's gone. The Blue Jackets had an availability. They made a major mistake. Cash, your thoughts on how this looks on that organization?
Out of all the hires, this is the one that we felt was going to make us the best. Quite clearly, it was not.
It's just a weird kind of thing to do, is to ask someone to look at their phone and the pictures on their phone. If you think by seeing a photo you're going to learn a lot about a person, then follow them on social media. I'm sure if Mike Babcock requested to follow a few members of his Columbus Blue Jackets, what he did was wrong. He hasn't changed a bit.
Two guys and a goalie with Gager, Cassian, and Nielsen. Tuesday and Thursdays at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey! Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla, as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch, Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The EST Hangout.
Manawanek, Tom Gazzola.
Yeah.
As well as we got Min Darwell from CBC and Doug McLean, Golden Bears Pandas analyst, along with the Stingers.
I think the older this kid gets,
Connor?
you're starting to see glimpses of what we're not privy to inside that room.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, now we're starting to see these guys put a stamp on this team. I think that culture that they're creating, instead of having it top down where it has a trickle down effect, I think it's working both ways where it kind of dictates what happens with the executive and the hockey side of the front office.
EST Hangout, weekday mornings at 9, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey! Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What's going on, folks? Welcome to Tuesday edition of the Lock Shop. Andrew Hustler Patterson with you. And yes, conspicuous by his absence is my guy, Dustin Nielsen. Dusty's on a little daddy duty right now, but it won't be rolling solo for the next 40 minutes or so because my guy, Pat Gregoire, live rubber arm coming out of the bullpen to save the day in the Lock Shop this morning. Patty, get in here and let's get going. How are you today, my friend?
I guess I am a righty, so it should be that one. But no, I'm excited. Obviously, called to the pen last minute. Hopefully, the Jays don't have to call to the pen too early tonight. They do have Gosman on the bump. Might be a little bit of a teaser there for one of the bets that I like. I think you like that one as well. But I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. I gotta say though, like, don't get me wrong, Jays are in a playoff push. There's a lot of great races going on in the MLB. But Tuesdays and Wednesdays are now becoming my least favorite days of the week because we don't have an NFL to bet on.
You know, the thing is, we need Tuesday for the waiver wire in fantasy.
Yes.
We need to Tuesday is the day where we will recap in a moment. We can go through some of the action in the National Football League from the last week. You figure out how you did, where your needs are in fantasy football. You hit the waiver wire. You look ahead to the games on the weekend and maybe jump on some early lines that you like. We'll talk about that coming up in a minute. And then listen, in 2 weeks, we're going to have hockey. Like, I was at an exhibition game last night, Pat. First time in the rink all year. So I was at the Jet game and I'm watching 2 games on my phone. I will admit the preseason tilt between the Jets and Oilers was well, let's just say I'm happy I had the phone and was able to pay attention to the Monday Nighters last night. But, man, hockey season is right around. Not to mention hockey season, these Tuesdays and Wednesdays without NFL. We can also talk hockey and look ahead to hockey season and maybe spend an hour or two going through the props for the NHL season over at Coolbet.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. I'm not one to bet on preseason hockey just because you really never know what you are getting. I know our boy Jake Bullen-Moss lost a 2 money line parlay yesterday. I think he went Leafs and Jets, so that one ended up not cashing. But you know, for me, I love watching preseason hockey. Yeah, it doesn't get my juices flowing. I certainly had that Leaf game, that Sens game on a smaller screen. I had the 2 other big screens going with flipping back and forth between the 2 football games and had my eyes on the hockey, but it's still hockey, right? It's still hockey. You get to see guys that maybe might not make the roster, who's making the team, who's impressing. So for me, yeah, I definitely pay a lot of attention to preseason hockey, but let's be honest, until the real thing starts, NFL reigns supreme.
I will say this. And I've said many times, there's few things in life more degen than betting on preseason football or preseason hockey. That being said, I was right there last night, jumping on the Jets at home. I mean, here's the thing. And again, anything like things can change, things can happen. But I mean, early on in the preseason, when you see some of the rosters that are being sent, like I think the most established NHL player that Edmonton sent to Winnipeg last night was like Adam Ernie. So, you know, when you know that that's what's coming on the road, and for instance, the Jets last night had Scheifele, Connor, and Velarde playing together in their first game. One of the other regular lines in, kind of thought that there was a bit of an opportunity. And again, the money line wasn't worth doing. It was minus 278, but you got to find ways to get in. I ended up betting it on regulation, which I thought was still pretty good at minus 149. Mm-hmm. There wasn't the option to win by 2 or win by 3. And that's probably smart on the book's part because I mean some of these mismatches are exactly what you think. But yes, it did make up for a couple of Bucks props that didn't come in last night on the Jets. However, let's just get right to it. Can we give a shout out to the kickers again? Like what is the record now on the primetime prop? Like 5-1 so far this year, I think.
For me personally, and I think I've bet every single one. And when I say I think, I 100% know I've bet on everyone. And the only one I can only really recall one losing. I think we are at a 5-1 clip right now. It's remarkable to see. And yesterday, it wasn't even a sweat. That first, or I should say the second game, it cashed in the first half. Like it was a field goal fest last night. I honestly think we might now, instead of doing, I mean, we're not going to get those double headers on Monday night, but I think the play should have been not just combined. It should have been parlaying both of them together, because the last 2 Mondays, those would have cashed no problem with absolute ease. But no more is the Monday night doubleheader. But, when we get to playoff time, when we get to some of the Saturday games, I know we're going to have the Christmas games, Thanksgiving games. I think we might have to start parlaying some of these field goal props together because they're consistently cashing at an unbelievable rate.
Well, I wonder, and shout out to you, Chaz, in the YouTube chat here in the Lock Shop. Field goals for everyone, and that's exactly what it seemed like last night.
Yeah.
I do wonder because I mean, we had the field goal frenzy on the 2 games as well, 6.5. I mean, that one was in before the second half of the second game was even started.
Yeah.
I do wonder if it was like 7.5 or 8.5, what the number would be. Last week, it was even money on 6.5. This week, it was -110. Both cashed easily. I mean, it's almost like playing, a video game. We might have to crank up the degree of difficulty on these field goal props, but with a better return as well. That being said, this is the gift that keeps on giving. If all you've been doing is hanging out with us and just throwing 20 on the field goal prop on these Monday night games, you've been doing very, very well. And what did you think of the games last night?
They were really, really, I don't want to say odd or bizarre, but I think for the most part, well, one, I don't know maybe if we were giving the Bucks too much credit. To be quite honest, like I know what it finished 25-11. Like that was a much bigger of a blowout than the scoreboard indicated. The Eagles pretty much dominated them physically on both lines. I really feel like the Eagles, and it came out after that, a few guys, including Jalen Hurts, were actually playing with flu-like symptoms. But I think if Hurts doesn't turn over the ball a couple of times, that could be an even bigger of a spread. The other game was interesting, though. Bengals and Rams. It just seemed like neither of those teams wanted to win. It's a huge, huge win for the Bengals. I think they needed it desperately. But man, we talked about it last week, and I said, I don't think you're hitting the panic button if this Bengals team does go 0-3 or even ends up being 2-1. I think we're getting close to hitting the panic button here because Joe Burrow does not look like Joe Burrow. I know he's banged up, but how banged up is he? Because he looks like a shell of what he was last year, especially in the playoffs. And I know this team has been slow starting, but putting up 19 points at home on a big game on Monday Night Football, that was incredibly concerning for me. I don't know what you think. I know you're high on this division. I know you think that this division is a wagon. I'm starting to think maybe our expectations for these teams in this division might have been a little bit too high.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, Baltimore's good, although they did lose to Indy.
Which is bad.
Pittsburgh. Well, hey, Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, you're right.
Is a real thing, Pat.
It's true. I was on it. I was on it
all
too.
All this guy does is win when he plays. And I mean, I know the long-term play is to get Anthony Richardson back out there, but they'll be competitive in every game they play if Minshew is in there. I think Cleveland, as bad as they looked against Pittsburgh the week before on Monday Night Football, Cleveland, I think, really asserted themselves on Sunday. And the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. The Steelers have a defense, an elite defense right now. And if they can get their offense going a little bit more, and think about it, everyone was kind of down on Kenny Pickett. Dude, their first 2 games was against the San Francisco 49ers and the Cleveland Browns. And I'm here to tell you the Browns defense is really good too. And Myles Garrett is an absolute beast. So I think Pittsburgh showed that, okay, they can do a little bit more offensively. The defense is still really good. Bottom line is for Cincinnati, there's 3 other very competitive teams that you're going to need to win and beat to be at the top of that division where they've been. And I think as opposed to last year when they started 0-2, I think they've got a lot more competition to get back to the top of the division right now. And to me, this division will go down to week 17 and week 18. I can't see anybody. I can't see anyone running away with it. And to be honest, I could see all 4 teams being in the mix in the last 3 or 4 games of the year.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think the way that this division plays football, it's built for the playoffs. The thing with the Steelers for me, yeah, it's the offense that is concerning. Their points for and against differential right now is minus 14, and they're sitting at a 2-1 record. But yes, you're right. They've played some good teams. That 49ers team obviously is proving that they're a wagon, they're a team to beat, and probably a favorite to represent the NFC alongside probably the Eagles. But you could argue they probably even look better than the Eagles. The Ravens, yeah, was losing the Colts is not great, but it was that just a blip on the radar, or is this kind of the same Ravens team that we've seen over the last couple of years where you think it's going to be different offensively? Boy, they're really injured right now as well. The Browns, I think you're spot on with the Browns. No Nick Chubb is absolutely devastating because you could really wonder what could this defense do if they had an offense that's just going to be able to chew up the clock, run the ball down other teams' throat, and put up just enough points while that defense is elite and keep scores down. The Bengals, really, that's the big thing is, yeah, maybe they can turn it on, but in years past where, I shouldn't say years past, but where last year where the Browns were garbage, the Steelers were not very good, the Ravens were kind of pretenders. It's easy for the Bengals to just climb up the top. We start 1-3, 1-4, not a big deal. We'll turn it on. You bring up a good point. They can't fall too far behind in this race because I think all 3 other these teams, while I'm not as high on them as you are, I do think they are much, much more competitive and are much more legitimate playoff contenders than what we've seen over the past 2 years.
I'll tell you what, they're loving Minshew Mania in Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Cincinnati, getting that win that lost to the Ravens. And by the way, shout out to Cowboy. I was gonna get to this, but we may as well touch on it right now. Joe Burrow last night. I know, under passing yards 258.5. The final numbers for Joe Burrow, 259. First of all, I can't believe how damn good these odds makers are. Like, it blows my mind. Every single week you're seeing numbers like this. But as Cowboy said, maybe a generous placement or 2 and could have sunk us last night. Not much we can do about it, but that was a serious ouch that went right down to the final last few plays.
Yeah, that was a stinger. I like the line of thinking that you guys had for that, just kind of fading Burrow just because of how unimpressive that he has looked. He's not looked anything. I won't go too much into it because I did kind of just lay that out. But the other thing is, like, what was the chances of him being able to finish that game? I thought we were going to see him come out a few times. Like, he took some hard hits. That O-line was supposed to be improved and was improving last year. But, man, Burrow's tough as nails. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But that guy just takes a licking each and every game. Like, that has to be a cause for concern for the Bengals, not just his health right now, but in the future. Like, they need to beef up that O-line desperately.
All right, lock shoppers, hit us up in the chat. Let's do our first lock shop power poll, Pat. National Football League. Are the San Francisco 49ers your number 1 team? And if not, who is?
It's tough to put the Chiefs at number 1 just based on the fact they lost their opener.
No, I mean, what about Miami? Miami just put up 70. They're 3-0.
So though I was going to say the 3 teams that I think you have to look at is Miami. They're 3-0. Their offense looks historic at this point. A 70 burger, like, that is absolutely insane. And that's not, they even kind of called off the dogs a little bit too. Like, I mean, it's not even like Tua played the entire game.
Could have kicked the field goal for 70.
Could have kicked the field goal for 73. You're right.
Daniel, you know what? We put up 70. let's just take a knee now. Love it.
So Dolphins, I think against the Bills this week, I think if they beat the Bills this week, I have a hard time not putting them number one. The 49ers, though, had a little bit of adversity in their game this week. So I think I'd be okay with any one of those three teams. And I guess maybe the Chiefs get a knock just because they did lose that opener. But since then, you know
what's crazy? There's only 3 undefeated teams in the NFL. I mean, that is how, I mean, a bunch of teams have just lost a game. But
yeah,
I mean, to me, the way things are right now, I'm going to give San Francisco the number 1 slot. I think that they deserve it. Miami gets number 2 for me. And listen, Philly's 3-0. So, I mean, we're going to put them in the undefeateds. But I certainly, from the body of work in these first 3 weeks, what San Francisco and Miami have done, to me, far more impressive than the way the Eagles have looked. But again, it's just about winning games, and they got a big favor from the Arizona Cardinals on Sunday. So now the Eagles have first place in the division. Obviously, there's lots of divisional games, and they'll play the Cowboys later on. That Cowboys game was so disappointing for a couple reasons, because I think they would have been in that mix of those undefeated teams that we were just talking about. And to be honest, it's already taken away some of the juice for that week 5 Sunday nighter between Dallas and the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, is Diggs that, like, we can't blame the entire game against Arizona on Trayvon Diggs. That being said, mental penalties, not being ready to play, go figure, from a Mike McCarthy coach team, nothing surprises me. There's so much talent on that Dallas squad, though. It would be a real waste if they sort of just regress now after getting one significant injury on the defensive side of the football.
Well, I obviously Diggs plays a big role, but it's not like Parsons goes out and that guy is really, the heartbeat of that defense. But for me, 16 points against Arizona team that, everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of people were pegging that they'd be battling for a top 3 pick and probably still will. Tony Pollard put up 120 rushing yards. Like you said, it was a lot of mental mistakes. Like when you look at the score sheet and you look at the stats that they put up, you would think, like, how do they not come up with a win here? And it was just the same old Cowboys, just mental mistake. One poor interception from Prescott. It's just, for me, if you're a Cowboys fan, I can understand why, only one loss through 3, you're still being like, well, this is the same team, because you lose so much steam, so much momentum after such a great start. They got the Patriots this week. I think if they could beat the Patriots in convincing fashion, that 49ers game has a lot more juice. 2 historical teams, 2 teams with really big fan bases, would be awesome. It's primetime game, but 100% it loses a lot of the luster because they just dropped an egg against a very, very bad Cardinals team. And credit to the Cardinals, credit to them, credit to Dobbs, gets his first career win as a starter. Awesome. But man, how do you possibly lose that game, Cowboys? Like, give me a break.
Something tells me the Niners won't be losing to the Cardinals on the weekend. They've opened as 14-point favorites. Hey, the Dan A in chat, Argos versus Bombers. Oh, man, huge game. This city's ready to go. 3rd straight sellout for the Bombers. It's going to be nuts. Early morning, I see 3.0 in Coolbet. Now I see 4. I'm actually seeing 4.5 right now. So there's people that have been hammering the Bombers in this case. We'll get to those in a minute on our way out. Of course, our great partners at Coolbet bring you the Lock Shop. If you haven't already played at Coolbet, get on over there. Use the promo code LOCKSHOP for a 100% bonus up to $200 on your first deposit. Patty, pulling up these Coolbet lines for the NFL. Interesting Thursday nighter we've got. And by the way, you know that the Lions and Packers are playing twice this year, both on Thursday nights? Lions are end up having 3 Thursday games because, of course, they started against the Chiefs. They've got this game against the Packers. And then, of course, the Thanksgiving game that they always have. But what a matchup, though. The Lions, 1-point favorites in Lambeau to take on the Packers. Big question on the Green Bay side is, will they get Aaron Jones back? Will they get Christian Watson back? thought they would get them last week. Then they didn't play. They had a big comeback win. And I mean, this to me is the battle for the NFC North right now because, well, we know how the Vikings and Bears have started so far. I'll tell you what, awesome Thursday night matchup. And listen, the point spread will tell you. I mean, even the money line, Packers -101, Detroit -116. This is about as close of a matchup as we've had so far this year in the league.
It just looks weird. And I don't know Dusty's not here to defend his Lions, but I would be curious to know when the last time the Lions were a favorite going into Lambeau Field. I really would be curious when the last time that happened, but they've earned it. Yeah, like I honestly have no idea. That'd be something interesting to pull up if we can do some digging here. But for me, I think the line's spot on here. I think this is a coin flip game. The Packers again, just kind of get away with one. I don't think they covered the spread, depending on what line you got on them there. But I really like this Lions team. I really do. I think that there was a lot of hype behind them to start the year. I don't know if maybe they're going to be as good as a lot of people kind of pegged them. They have that big win against the Chiefs. Then a really disappointing loss against the Seahawks. But then this week they come back and kind of win like a gritty game against the Falcons team who they're not going to put up a lot of points, but that defense is pretty good. And they kind of, hang on to the ball well. They manage the game well. So for me, I think that was a great bounce back performance for the Lions. And if I had to pick someone here, I'd probably play Lions money line here. But the demons, the ghosts of the Lions and Packers rivalry in the back of my head is like, just, it can't get over the fact that I can bet the Packers as a home dog in Lambeau in prime time against the Lions. It just doesn't make sense.
No, it really doesn't. And by the way, just while we're speaking about Green Bay, for the next little while, Green Bay is money line bets only. 2 weeks ago against Atlanta, I was on the right side of it. We got Green Bay at +1.5, and they ended up losing that game by 1. Cash the bet. Fast forward to this week, we got the bet in early before they became underdogs. So laid 1.5.
Oh,
and lo and behold, they win by 1 and don't cover the numbers. So I will tell you, folks, in these 1 and 2 point Green Bay games, if you like them to win, just bet them to win.
yeah.
And again, listen, if you can get the extra points, great. But you won't see me laying Green Bay -1.5 or 2.5 anymore. If it's a tight one, we're picking the win because they seem to have a knack for some very, very close games. Just a quick look ahead at a few of the other lines that are out right now before we hit the CFL. That Miami-Buffalo game you mentioned in Buffalo, noon gate. Like, what is the Chiefs-Jets is the night game, which I get why they had it. But we need to be able to flex these games early on. Like, unless Taylor Swift is there and they can just focus on her all game like they did when the Chiefs were embarrassing the Bears. Like, Dolphins-Bills, how is that game not in prime time? Game of the week, Patty.
Game of the week, maybe potentially one of the top 3 games of the year. That total right now is 53.5, which I'm tempted to take the over in that one. I know Buffalo's defense looks good. I know they'll probably want to, which is crazy to see considering what we've seen from the Bills over the last few years. They're going to want to slow the game down. But with the way that offense is playing with the Dolphins, and we know the Bills can score the ball as well. Because I don't like betting either side when it comes to the Bills, that's probably going to be my play, is just, bet the over and hopefully there's a lot of points scored. And if the Bills do end up losing to the Dolphins, it's in a shootout and it's a little bit of a happiness hedge there. But to go back on the flex, like, it absolutely has to happen. I don't know if you saw before we went live to air here, but the Jets signed another quarterback. They picked up a quarterback, which we thought, that's probably what they should do when Rodgers went down, and Wilson clearly is not the guy. They signed Trevor Siemian. We had odds for who the next quarterback could be for the Jets, or the
Yeah.
next quarterback they'd sign. Nick Foles was there, Winston, Colt
Wentz.
McCoy, Wentz, Cooper Rush, Teddy Bridgewater. Yes, even Taylor Heineke. I know those names aren't sexy and blow anything out of the water, but they are leaps and bounds better than Trevor Siemian. We didn't even offer odds for Trevor Siemian to be the next quarterback of the Jets. Like, what are they thinking here? The fact that we are going to have to see either Trevor Siemian or Zach Wilson, how many more times? I think it's at least 3 or 4 more times in prime time. I know there's elections coming up in the States within a year and a bit. Someone needs to put this on their platform and say that I am going to make every single primetime game eligible for flexing, and they will win the presidency for that. I can guarantee you that, because this is a crime against humanity, us having to watch this much Jets football in primetime. It's not fair.
It's not the way it was supposed to be. It's not the way it was supposed to be, but 4 plays in, the entire script got ripped up for the season for the National Football League. Chiefs and Jets are the primetime game. Kansas City 9.5-point favorites in New York to take on the Jets at MetLife. And you know what? Maybe this will be another Taylor Swift game, because, as much as people say, oh, well, all they wanted to do was talk about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Did you watch the first half of that game? I mean, thank the Bears. Thank the Bears for that. There was absolutely nothing to talk about. It was varsity versus JV the entire day. And that, but put it this way, this is just how bad the Bears were, Pat. For them to switch off of a game that was literally breaking the internet because Taylor Swift was there, for them to switch off the national game and go to Cowboys Cardinals, just tells you how pathetic the Chicago Bears were in that game right now. And you couldn't expect people to hang, unless you were a Swiftie. Why were you watching that game?
I'll one up you here. They're that bad that a team that just lost by 50 and allowed 70 points are a 3.5 favorite on the road against the Bears.
I'm looking at this right now. Denver 3.5, laying 3.5 after giving up 70. Can you imagine if that was the primetime game?
Oh my God. No, there'd be riots in the street.
Although in a perverse and weird way, it's almost going to be a fun game to watch. It almost would be good if it was a standalone.
Huss, I know that's not a primetime game, but we might have to have a flex over 3.5 field goals prop in that one there, because I think that's going to be a field goal fest, because there's not going to be a lot of tutties.
It might end up
scored in that one.
Might end up 6-3. I'm not sure whether we're going to get to the 4.
Oh man, but shout out Travis Kelce for pulling the absolute vet move and inviting the new girlfriend to watch a game against the Bears, because he knows he's going to look sweet while doing it, putting up some big numbers, because man,
and now he's got prime time against the Jets. Doesn't she live in New York? I mean,
she does.
She's gonna become a Chiefs, like you, a Chiefs super fan. Chiefsaholic is locked up right now. Taylor Swift taking over for Chiefsaholic as the leader of the kingdom.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, looking at some of these lines here, I mean, a lot of them are interesting. Browns minus 2.5 against the Ravens. I know they're at home. I know you're pretty high on the Browns. I was kind of surprised there. I still, just with the way that the Ravens looked last week, I don't know if I'd be interested in laying any money there with the Ravens to keep it within the field goal. But that's a rivalry game, and I think you might have said it maybe in week 1, week 2, that you're implementing a rule, and I think I kind of like this rule, despite even what I said. If there's a division game between those guys and it's within a field goal, I think you just got to take the points at that point, because just the way these teams play each other, it seems like it always comes down to a field goal or comes down to the last play. So Ravens, maybe, +3, if you can buy up to 3, put it in a parlay. I'd be watching that one to see if it gets up to 3.5 at some point.
Well, definitely. You got to lay minus 120 if you want 3. And if you want 3.5, it's minus 135. And it was just like yesterday when we were talking about the Rams-Bengals game. I said, okay, it's 3. You know what? I'm going to take the 3.5 at minus 130. And then I'm like, oh, well, I'll just I'll just go with the 3 at -104. Well, there's a reason why that half point cost what it did, because it ended up being the difference between a win and a push. But there's a bunch of tight lines. I mean, 3.5 between the Vikings and the Panthers.
Yep.
Battle of 0-3 teams. The Broncos-Bears game that we just talked about, 3.5. Unbelievable. Falcons-Jags. Jags are a 3-point home favorite against Atlanta. They've looked terrible the last couple of weeks. Another 3-point spread, Steelers and Texans. A lot of people impressed with what Houston's been doing, especially CJ Stroud, the way he's played so far. And then later on, of course, only 3 late games, and they're all relatively big spreads. Raiders at Chargers. Chargers laying 5.5. Dallas laying 6.5 at home to the Cowboys. And the aforementioned 49ers laying 14 at home to the Arizona Cardinals. Chiefs Jets on Sunday night. And then the Monday nighter, speaking of close lines, Giants -1.5 against the Seahawks, -120 on the money line, Seattle +2. I will say this, there's more potential, I think, for some good money line parlays than we've had at any point this season. So we'll get into that over the next few days as we get ready for the week in the lock shop.
But yeah, that's a great point. So I think, Moneyline Parlay might have to be a play or two here this week. You mentioned quickly before we get into the CFL lines, you mentioned that Jags-Falcons game. I know the Jags have looked awful. And, Falcons obviously are proving they're a gritty team. They're going to keep games as close as they can. That might be my play of the week. Honestly, I think the Jags, they need a get-right game really bad. They are a team that had so much hype behind them. At some points, throughout the summer, we had so much risk. We still do, but at points, Trevor Lawrence was one of the higher risks for MVP.
Oh yeah,
I think them to win the AFC was a pretty high bet. Their win total pretty high. Like, this is a team that was really, really a sexy pick in the offseason, and things haven't gone their way. Maybe this is where you reinvest, or if you haven't got a piece, maybe this is when you do go out and get a piece of them. But I think this is a game. It's also in London, which is now becoming a home game for them, with how many times that they've played over there. I think this is
a London game.
Yeah, that's a London game this week. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 8:30 a.m. I'm glad you pointed that out to me.
So that's my play of the week. I might lock it in at I doubt we see it go any lower than that. -154 on the money line, which is a bit too juicy for my liking. But
get 2.5 at -122 right now if you want to take the half point, and then 3 -105 for the Jags. I always love it when the Jags are over there, and I think they're playing 2 games there, if I'm not mistaken.
They are. They got the Bills. They got the Bills the following week.
Week.
Yeah.
The Jags, when there's a big crew of UK NFL fans that they're the Union Jacks, and they've got the Jaguar within the thing. They're always running around on Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah.
That is it. And we are getting into it. By the way, speaking of overseas games, dude, the fact that Bears Chiefs game was at Arrowhead on Sunday meant that Tyreek Hill's return to Arrowhead is not happening in Arrowhead. It is happening in Frankfurt, Germany. Chiefs, Dolphins, it could be game of the year, the way things are going right now for those teams. So we got to wait till early November for that. Let's take a quick look at these CFL lines, because just as we've been talking,
oh my God,
the steam keeps on coming in on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We'll talk about this coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk at 1 over on the WST channel. But the Bombers were 3-point favorites this morning.
Wow.
Then it was 4. It was 4.5 when we started this program, and now it's 5.5. So it seems like there's an avalanche of money coming in on Winnipeg. That is a big, big number to lay against a team that has only lost once so far this season. But it should be a great one. That's the early game on Friday. Saskatchewan and BC. BC laying 9 at home to the Riders. Riders looked terrible last week in that loss in Ottawa. Speaking of Ottawa, they're 2.5-point home dogs to the Montreal Alouettes. Alouettes laying 2.5 on the road. And then Hamilton at home, 2-point favorites over the struggling Calgary Stampeders. Patty, before we go, let's take a quick look at this Jays game tonight. What's the vibe, by the way, in and around Jays Nation? It's been there's been some ups and downs, but man, that getting 2 out of 3, almost getting all 3 against Tampa, has to have people thinking confidently about playoffs in the GTA.
I think the way I would phrase it is cautiously optimistic. I think they definitely see, okay, there's a clear path to get in. I think the magic number is now down to 3. They took care of business, or as much as they could in the games that they need to. Now, for me, and I think I kind of have the same feeling around the city right now, is that we're not having too high of expectations, but if this team can catch fire at the right time, who knows? And Jake and I were actually talking. You almost kind of want them to drop a couple of games here, not too many. I think I would much rather finish in the 3rd wild card rather than having to play a team like Tampa. Drop down to the 3rd, and then you play that crossover with the lowest division winner, which would be Minnesota right now. And I think I like the Jays' chances much better against a team like Minnesota than obviously a team that they've struggled immensely, especially since it would be down at Tropicana, somewhere where they have had major issues over the last billion years, it seems like. So again, maybe it's a little bit of galaxy braining, but both of us were thinking like, man, you almost hope that Houston goes on a little bit of a run here and they end up getting that 2nd seed or that 2nd wild card, because you do kind of open up a much easier game or set of games against Minnesota. And just throwing out there, Minnesota's pretty close to Winnipeg. Wouldn't hate to see some Jays fans in the stands there.
I mean, listen, there's thousands of them every year when it happens, when you can plan during the regular season. I can tell you, just the thought of that, be a lot of people getting on the highway and heading down to the Twin Cities for that. Jays have a 1.5 game cushion on Houston, who has a 1.5 game cushion on the Seattle Mariners, who are in a funk at the wrong time. They've lost 4 in a row, 3-7 in their last 10, while the Jays 7-3. All right, just quickly before we wrap it up here, tonight, let's focus on in this Jays game. Gosman's on the hill at home, -159 money line. Certainly like that. Player pitching, you got Gosman versus King. The Gosman strikeout number is -133. Last week on the program, I said, you know what? Look at the money. I think we were getting like +115 for under 7.5 strikeouts. He had a couple 5 strikeout games, and then I saw him pitch last week, and it was absolute mastery, lights out. I think he had double digits in strikeouts. I'm kind of tempted to throw the over on the strikeouts for Gosman at 7.5. And I don't mind the +130 on Bo Bichette total bases over 1.5. No, maybe we want to put that in. We can always put the Jays money line in that. I know it's somewhat correlated, but Jays to win with the over strikeouts and Bo Bichette over total bases. Patty, what do you think about that?
I really like that one. I was going to it's 100% Gosman. I've already bet it individually for him over. So when we were going to put this same game parlay together on the bet builder, that was a no doubter. And I was debating either Bo Bichette or Springer, because Springer just seems like a guy in September and rolling into October. He's a guy that just comes out clutch. But I'm fine with Bo. You get a better number at that. Right now in the bet builder at CoolBet, it's +375 for Bichette, 2+ bases, Gosman 8+ strikeouts, and the Blue Jays to win. So +375. We'll be able to get a little boost on that from the boys back at headquarters with CoolBet. So I'm okay with that. If we want to lock that in for our lock shop partner parlay.
Let's do it. A nice little Tuesday night special. Nothing crazy, but we'll have a few things to cheer for in the game. Jays to win, Gosman over 7.5 strikeouts, and Bo Bichette over 1.5 total bases. If you want to bet those individually and not put it in the parlay, the Bo bet's +130 for the 2+ bases. Gosman's -133 on the strikeouts, and the Jays money line is -159. So we'll get that up shortly in the exclusives. If you want to ride, folks, you know where to get it. Of course, all sorts of props for tonight's big Yankees-Jays game there at CoolBet as well. CFL lines, NFL lines. Oh, and geez, I guess tomorrow we've got some golf to talk about again, Patty.
Yes.
Ryder Cup. Let's go. Right now, just in case you're wondering, look at this. USA and Europe both plus 105 to win. That's wild. The U.S. has been a favorite for so long. Yep. We're now getting plus 105 on the U.S. Wow.
Yeah, it's really crazy. And again, that also includes the tie. So if you
a tie, there's also to lift the trophy because the tie goes to them minus 128 and Europe plus 105. But anyways, we'll hit that tomorrow. Check it out though. There's tons of great props looking ahead to the Ryder Cup.
We gotta build a lock shop partner parlay for the Ryder Cup.
Absolutely, we do. And is day one Friday or is it Thursday?
Day one's Friday, yeah.
Friday. Okay, perfect. So we got a few days. So yes.
But because it's in Europe, it'd probably be in the early hour or morning hours probably for us. So
no, exactly. Yeah, the morning sessions will be basically in the middle of the night. Yeah. And then we might be able to see the afternoon ones, or we'll just stay up all night betting and watching golf. Hey, that's the Ryder Cup. You got to do what you got to do. Lock shoppers, there's your homework. Check out the Ryder Cup odds and everything else we've got going on heading into the Jays game. We'll get the partner parlay exclusive up a little bit later on. Jays, Gosman strikeouts, Bo Bichette over total bases, and we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow might be a good day to really get into the Ryder Cup. Because of course, tomorrow and Thursday, Friday, it's already going to be started. Friday's the big day for NFL picks. We got to get CFL before that big game as well. So busy week in the lock shop. Shout out to you, Patty. Last minute, just the rubber arm throwing gas out of the bullpen. Perfect. Say what's up to Jake. Dusty will be back tomorrow on the lock shop. And shout out to Matt Awanek and the fellas back at Edmonton Sports Talk for keeping the show on the road. Folks, enjoy the ball game tonight. Again, promo code LOCKSHOP. If you want to try Cool Bet, get that 100% bonus up to $200. Patty, we'll talk to you later this week. Lock shoppers, catch you tomorrow at noon.
Two guys and a goalie.
Babcock's gone. The Blue Jackets had an availability. They made a major mistake. Cash, your thoughts on how this looks on that organization?
Out of all the hires, this is the one that we felt was going to make us the best. Quite clearly, it was not.
It's just a weird kind of thing to do, to ask someone to look at their phone and the pictures on their phone. If you think by seeing a photo you're going to learn a lot about a person, then follow them on social media. I'm sure if Mike Babcock requested to follow a few members of his Columbus Blue Jackets, what he did was wrong. He hasn't changed a bit.
Two guys and a goalie with Gager, Cassian, and Nielsen. Tuesday and Thursdays at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tom Gazzola and Sean Bell take you on a hot lap around the NHL with Hello Hockey. Saturday mornings at 10, only on Edmonton Sports Talk. Catch up with friends of EST, Andrew, Mike, and Kayla as they get you in the huddle with the Edmonton Elks on the Turf District. Thursday nights at 8, EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Friend of EST, Eric Thomas, takes you around the track all the way to the checkered flag on Raceline Radio. Tuesday nights at 8 and Saturday morning at 9. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join friend of EST, Guy Flaming, for the Pipeline Show, Monday nights at 8 and Saturday at noon, as he has you covered with CHL, CJHL, USHL, NAHL, NCAA, and U Sports, plus the World Juniors, Frozen Four, and NHL Draft on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Join Murray McCourt and Curtis Stock for tips and tales from courses around Edmonton and area with the VIP Golf Show, presented by the Tailor Made Performance Center at the Ranch. Sundays at 8:30, only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. The Elks Call is the newest Edmonton Elks podcast located in Edmonton, discussing everything Elks. Join friends of EST, Scout and Catherine, Friday nights at 8 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
All right, welcome back inside the Edmonton Sports Talk studios, the Popeye studios here at EST. We're calling an audible at the line. Tom Gonzalo, Lieutenant Eric with you, getting set for two guys and a goalie with myself, Joaquin Gage, and Matty Cassian. So the boys will hop on in about 10 minutes' time. Just a programming note for people. I guess we could call this the pre-two guys and a goalie show, but our
not a regular program will be.
Yeah, our boy Dusty Nielsen had to
play
father, attend to a family emergency. So we hope Lizzie's okay.
Yep.
Bit of a spill on the schoolyard. So
she's a tough kid.
She is a tough
She'll
kid.
figure it out. Of course, we're sending our good vibes to her. But yes, and I say playing father in a Dusty's always playing father.
Always.
But when the call goes, you gotta
take off.
So
we're happy to fill in. That's what we do here. Yep. Good team effort at EST. So two guys and a goalie coming up, but we do have a few things as we get set for two guys and a goalie. I'm trying to adjust this microphone.
Well, this is because do you normally sit here for Hello Hockey?
I sit here for Hello Hockey and there for.
Do you have a better side? You're a TV
I like
guy?
that one.
You do. Do you want it? We can.
No, this is good. What? Oh yeah, yeah. But then I moved over here.
Mid-show, like did you just prefer this?
No. I think when Belzy's in studio, I go there because I prefer that.
Okay,
and I make Belzy go here.
If I would have known, next time I'm taking that.
You take what you stay
because Dustin's is what, like it's high, low, or what is he?
I got it figured out.
Anyway,
Anyway,
he's got different specs.
Couple of things to get to. Thank you to Larry, our good friend Larry. He's a big time EST fan. So on the Hangout, I am always chastised for not wearing socks.
But you do.
But I am wearing socks.
Yeah.
It's just
the visible.
Yeah, it's the no-show socks. So Larry dropped off a pair of Major League socks, and these are Gretzky socks. I will wear them.
You will wear them
on air in honor of Larry. And over the course of the weekend, you were at my birthday celebration, which was fantastic. Big thank you to Murray McCourt from the VIP Golf Show.
Thank you, Murray,
for that. And my mom sent my dad back from Italy with a pair of socks that I need to wear as well. So I get it. I will be wearing socks.
May, though, you might want to just keep these in the package, right? Like this is a.
But I think Larry wants me to wear them.
Yeah, it's a point of pride
so
for him.
I'll wear them at some point.
Are they ankle socks as well? Like we're not going through the same
they're the full
knee
length.
highs?
Yeah, they're the full length. They, I believe they say one size fits most.
They look good with one of those heritage uniforms, and I'm talking not just the jersey, the pants, the everything.
Absolutely, they would be perfect. The reaction apparently has been negative towards the unveiling of the Oilers Heritage Classic jersey. Where do you come out on this?
Well, what again? We've seen the full kit.
Yes,
right, and
correct.
So piece by piece, I think the shirt, right, the jersey itself. I don't know if that's getting the critique. Is it the brown pants? Is that what it is? The full thing?
We'll get into this more in two guys, but I honestly feel like because it's so different than any other Oilers uniform, I'm not going to say I get annoyed, but I kind of roll my eyes when people are like, just bring back the copper and blue ones from the late 90s, early 2000s. Guys, they keep recycling these uniforms. At least they tried something different here. And I think people will warm up to these ones.
Yeah, money will be made off the copper and blue eventually, right? But this is something
the alumni
different.
are going to be wearing them. Not at the Heritage. There's no alumni game, but alumni take part in events. But you're right. Money will be made
come out in the wash eventually, and you'll get yours. But yes, this is something totally different as opposed to every other kind of iteration of an Oilers jersey and, the orange, the blue, the white, the neon, the whatever it is. But this is like something different, something unique, a one-off, I guess, for this game. I mean, it's not like they're going to be parading these out for like a
They might wear them they'll sprinkle some in because they
sprinkle.
There'll be a
Jersey
smattering.
guy. Jersey guy got it, but
like the Winter Classic jerseys, they wear them the one time at the Winter Classic, and then you'll see them on like Sundays for a couple of times. So they get more than just one wear out of them.
Yeah, but even still, I mean, for a purchase, I mean, this is kind of a once in a season thing.
Yeah.
So, but is it the pants? Like, I would like. I mean, if you're going full retro, I want the same material. Like really thick
deerskin pads,
sopping up the sweat and the liquid and the water on there, like just getting really heavy.
Yeah.
Not being able to move around and all that on the ice.
Uncomfortable.
That's old-time hockey.
You need to air it out a full 24 hours before it's ready to be worn again.
You got to go full heritage.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I
said this morning, old helmets.
Why not?
All the old, like no safety requirements. Just kind of
CSA
bucket on
unapproved.
Your head. Good enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can chime in as always. 780-218-9999 or in the nasty chat. I'm in there right now taking a look at things as we kind of fill the void. No Fast Five today because Dusty is awaiting care of the Muzz. So Lieutenant Eric and myself.
There could be shows like this. There could be
happen.
moments moving on that you wouldn't know. Nobody would say anything, but it's like the hangout.
Yeah.
You just jump in. Not kill time, but we're filling time.
Filling time. Question comes in from Bones, says, was the Muzz in a slam dunk competition? I'll let you answer that.
I guess to reports that I've heard, she was just running.
Yeah,
and young child, it's. I mean, you and I could run now, but when you're young, the bones and everything, and But if I were to push you over, like I was watching that World Tag Championships last night.
That's
those people are flying around, but one guy burst his knee out. You land so hard, and you just flip out the knee. So. Yeah, Elizabeth, just a little spill at school, I guess, as it were. So we wish her luck. I was trying to tell Dustin, you can't really do that to a dad in the moment, but I'm trying to be the guy being like, okay, well,
you're sounding board
good
for him.
Hopefully it's like a clean break. You kind of want to. But when you're a kid and that kid comes into class with the cast on,
oh yeah,
I mean. Attention City, USA.
Status.
The signatures, the being able to scratch yourself with a pencil under the, all these things. It'll be like a whole new world. And I don't know, from now till Halloween, maybe you could incorporate that somehow into, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of collaboration there.
Motif, absolutely. Did you ever break a bone?
Wrists.
You broke
biking.
Both?
Yeah, this one. I really messed this one up, but I broke this one.
Oh.
And then I got a nice gnarly cast on there. But then you take it off and you've lost I mean, I'm a skinny man already, but it was just like
you're trim fit,
and it stinks,
Yeah.
I mean, if you've had a cat, you broken legs.
Fortunately, I have not. Knock on wood.
Not one bone in your entire life.
No, but I've torn ligaments and had my nose sliced open, but no bone breaks. Lots of milk as a kid. I guess that might have helped. I'm not sure.
Well, you don't know unless it's coming out of you.
Yeah,
we don't need to.
Ugh, squeamish. Anyway, that does it for the two guys and a goalie pre-show. Eric, thanks for
Say hi to Cassie and Gage for me.
I will. A big thank you to Larry, who's a listener and a viewer, for the socks. I will wear them on the Hangout. Great to be back on the Hangout today. It will be me in for Dusty Nielsen taking care of the Muzz, who suffered a schoolyard injury today. Matty Cassian and Joaquin Gage coming up. Out indefinitely, says Eric. Joaquin Gage, Matt Cassian, myself. Coming up next on Two Guys and a Goalie. Stay tuned right here on Edmonton Sports Talk.